Hello everybody.
Hello.
Recently we did a questions and answers video, and one of the questions was from Tintagel 8124. What's it like to live in Cornwall 52 weeks of the year? I'm 99.9% certain that I want to retire here, and we said we'd do a separate video. So here we are. We're in Truro. We're going to discuss a few points like transport, health, shopping, entertainment, that sort of thing, to give you an idea of what it is actually like to live in Cornwall 52 weeks a year, because I bet you've been down here on holiday and you've thought, I wonder what it's like to live here.
We're going to try and tell you so you can make up your mind and think, well, would I like to live in Cornwall all year round?
Yeah, so what you have to understand is that we've only ever lived in Cornwall, so we have no comparison. We've only had a reference from our daughter who spent 3 years at uni in Cardiff, so we've compared notes with her. So let's get going. Have you ever wondered what it's like to live in Cornwall 52 weeks a year? Cornwall attracts 4 million overnight stays and 14 million day visits every year, and is a favourite tourist destination. But how does that affect day-to-day lives for locals? Wow. Do we walk the coast path and eat pasties all day? Oh, nice crispy crunchy pastry.
So where exactly is Cornwall? If you look at the map of the UK, you'll find it. It's right down in the far southwest of England.
In this video we will chat about the weather in Cornwall, house prices down here, what job opportunities there are, the cost of tradesmen, retail and supermarkets, transport links, a little look at healthcare, and what entertainment there is in the county. So this is Truro. We're actually behind Truro Cathedral.
It's an impressive building, isn't it?
We're walking away from the river because it's in full flood. I'm not sure if it's too noisy for you to hear us. It's a really cold day, and it's probably going to rain before we finish making this video.
It's early January as well. It's that time of the year, so we're slightly into the new year, isn't it? The kids have all gone back to school, people are back to work, it's a weekday. It'd be interesting to see actually how busy it is. I think it's going to be quite quiet up here today.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's chilly, isn't it?
So the weather in Cornwall, how would you sum up the weather? That can be our first topic.
Okay, well again, most people are sort of used to coming out for their summer holiday, and they generally have quite a pleasant time, I would have thought, isn't it?
May, June, July, it's okay, and August always seems to rain.
But we get an awful lot of rain down here through the winter, and it's quite stormy from time to time as well, isn't it?
In fact, here is a rainfall map of the UK produced by the Met Office. It shows the bluer areas being the wetter areas of the country, so predominantly the western half of our country receives more rainfall.
The winters are quite mild, probably milder than you'd expect if you were further up country.
Just moving out of the way because somebody's coming down.
Yeah, I'd say wet winters and quite warm summers.
Yes. Now the wet winters also encourage green algae on your houses, so it gets quite dirty looking, doesn't it?
Mouldy maybe.
Yes, so that's something to think about. If you like a pristine house, you're going to be cleaning it a lot, because we do get a lot of black mould, don't we? And stuff like that. Anyway, that's just our experience. If you have a brand new house, it may be different. We've got an old cottage. What else can we talk about? What's the next topic?
Well, I think one of the major things, if you're considering coming to Cornwall, is how expensive is it? You know, if you're looking at house prices and things like that, or how much a rent would be. So let's have a look at what it would be in Cornwall and compare it to what it would be, say, in the rest of the UK.
Did some research, Sarah. Had a look on the Office for National Statistics website.
Yes.
So Cornwall, the average house price for 2024 is just over £300,000. It's £301,000.
Okay.
And the average monthly rent in Cornwall was £940.
Well, as we're in town here, we can have a look in a few of the windows, the estate agent windows, can't we? And see how that stacks up. I think you'll find that that's an average that could be skewed quite heavily on the coast.
I agree with you completely. I did have a look at what the average was in the UK for house prices as well. And Cornwall was slightly higher as an average price than the rest of the UK. The average price for the rest of the UK was £292,000, again from the Office of National Statistics. That's for 2024. So, like you say, there's going to be big variations in Cornwall. I think around the coast, very expensive.
Yeah.
Maybe inland a little bit more, not quite so expensive.
I agree. With a quick look online, we found this 5-bedroom detached property near Falmouth on the market for 1.3 million. But if you go towards Camborne, you'll get a more reasonable price with this 3-bedroom 1970s, 1980s style bungalow at 460,000. You've got to think about how you finance that. So are you retired or are you working? We are not retired, so we can't really comment much on that other than our parents' experience, I guess. But as working people in Cornwall, the opportunities for work, they're pretty similar to elsewhere. You've got the government-backed jobs, haven't you, in education, healthcare, the NHS and the council shrinking. And then you've got other industries. What would they be?
Tourism is the biggest industry in Cornwall, I would
biggest
have said,
employer.
Yes, but that's seasonal work.
The busiest tourist months in Cornwall really start at about Easter. So after Easter, May, June, July starts to get busier. August is really busy, and September it starts to die down. October, people will be laid off from their seasonal work. As we showed in our Port Isaac video recently, the shops actually shut their doors and lay off their staff. Sorry, we are closed. And it does depend what end of that spectrum you're looking at. So if you're going to be in the hospitality, you could be a waitress, you could be a chef, but if you own your own business, you're obviously going to end up earning more within that tourism industry. So yeah, there's limited opportunities in Cornwall for scope for maybe companies, and being a CEO, you aren't probably going to get that sort of thing, are you?
I mean, one thing I've noticed over maybe the last 10 or 15 years is the huge rise in the number of trades you've got in Cornwall. And, you know,
Yes.
I think that's really because of the fact that lots of people have already moved down here. And the first thing people do when they buy a property down here, they tend to gut it and redo it, don't they?
Yeah.
So it's driven up a demand for those trades, isn't
Well,
it?
I think that's also, there's another reason that trades have become so expensive in Cornwall, is that there's the holiday sector. As houses are taken into the holiday market, they get renovated, so you're looking at those same tradesmen to do that for you. So those two types of people, they've got a lot of money. So if you're actually living in Cornwall, you are then competing with them to get somebody to work for you. Prices for trades are expensive in Cornwall.
Yeah, sure are, and that's a good point as well. You know, if people are actually buying properties as investments, effectively, aren't they? Buying them to maybe put out on Airbnb, it's going to actually reduce the amount of housing stock down here available if people are looking to buy, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's probably going to have an impact on the house prices.
However, there is a momentum with the budget, isn't it? They want us to build more in Cornwall. So if you're coming down for the green spaces, they might be disappearing in the next few decades.
It's limited space down here, isn't it? We're surrounded by the sea. There's only so many places you can build houses down here, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, sure. So we're in Truro.
Yeah.
So we're going to look at housing. We're going to look at retail.
Let's go and do the retail thing now.
Yeah.
Let's go and find some shops. Truro is our only city. It has a cathedral which designates it as a city, but it's quite tiny. It's not much bigger than some towns up country. So we'll show you around. You'll probably be shocked that there isn't any kind of chains, and we'll go through that as we walk through the town. So this is a list from our daughter of the chains that we just don't have in Cornwall. So we've got Five Guys, Wagamama, Nando's, TGI Fridays, Bella Italia, Turtle Bay. I have no idea what some of these sell or do. H&M, Hollister, Lego store, we don't have any of that. A proper Apple store, we don't. We have a franchise. Department stores, we don't have one in Cornwall. Urban Outfitters, Chopsticks, John Lewis, nearest one is Exeter. Pull and Bear, Taco Bell, something called Wingstop. We don't have a Pret, a Manger, we don't have Zara, and we don't have something called Honest Burger. So we have lots of independent little retailers that do fast food and hairdressing and jewellery and provide us with all the things that you need in modern life. But we don't have many chains. We don't have an IKEA in Cornwall. The nearest one is 100 miles away in Exeter.
Yeah, so that's two big stores, isn't it? John Lewis and IKEA. They're two big draws, aren't they? And actually, when those sort of stores go to an area, it elevates that area, doesn't it? It makes
hugely,
it, a lot more popular to go there, isn't it? I mean, I remember as a kid, Marks and Spencer's coming to Truro, because Falmouth used to be the shopping place, and then Marks and Spencer's came to Truro, and suddenly everybody decided to come to Truro.
That's very true. Yeah, and now Marks and Spencer's has a flagship store here in Truro, and that is a big draw in Truro now, isn't it? But yeah, so you won't have a lot. In fact, talking about Marks and Spencer's, there are only 3 Marks and Spencer's in Cornwall. There's 2 Waitrose, one in Saltash, one here in Truro. So I guess what we're saying is that if you like your chains and you like your takeout food, you'll have to find a local alternative that suits you.
Well, you're going to have to do lots of day trips out of the county.
Yeah, we used to do day trips up to Plymouth, didn't we, to go on a shopping trip. We used to go for the day to Plymouth, where it's the nearest big retail park. We don't have a closed mall, do we? We don't have a shopping centre.
No, we stopped doing that as well, because I mean, you know, a lot of the stuff you'll get online now, won't you? And it's also got quite expensive as a day trip to go to somewhere like Plymouth, isn't it?
Yeah, so whilst there's no chains, there's still a lot of independents that will provide you with all the things you need. If you're enjoying our video, don't forget to like, maybe leave a comment, and subscribe for more videos about walks and days out in Cornwall. Here we are, Victoria Square, next to Rose pasty shop.
Standing here for the smell. There's some independent shops. I mean, Mallet's over there. That's been there for years, hasn't it?
Yeah.
There's hardware and things like that, isn't it?
I think Pure Silver Design, that one, that's a Cornish shop, isn't it? And then you've got your chain, you've got Costa, you've got Fat Face, Vision Express, they're all chains, aren't they? And we've got a Greggs!
Really?
I know. They tried once before and failed, but this time they've got a foothold.
Won't catch me in there.
Some of the, like, inspirational, aspirational brands of clothing shop have gone into the seaside resorts, which is to the detriment of Truro, but it does tell you something about the retail scene in Cornwall.
It obviously follows the money.
Yeah, exactly that.
Can I just say, I think Truro is suffering like so many of the towns and cities, isn't it, with retail? I mean, that store behind you was Next, isn't it? That's all boarded up there, isn't it?
Although there is somebody in there, so I mean, it's been...
oh yeah, there is, isn't there?
Yeah.
Good spot.
New coming.
There's not many people around either, but it's that time of year and it's after Christmas, isn't it? And I suppose people haven't got a lot of money at the moment, have they?
I do like Truro though. It's easy to get around. It's all flat. A lot of it's pedestrianised, and it gives you everything you need, really. Unless you're somebody that really has to go shopping every week, I think it's more than adequate. Okay, so everything in Cornwall is on a smaller scale. Your supermarkets will be on a smaller scale than you've got up country. When we went out to see our son, went to Watford Tesco, it's massive. I don't even know how you guys find anything. It's just too big, it's overwhelming. It's ridiculous.
I mean, Cornwall's right, there's lots of rural parts of Cornwall, but most of these big supermarket chains will do home deliveries and things like that for you now, isn't that? So it's changed over the last few years, isn't it?
Yeah, so that is available in Cornwall. And I doubt that you really come to Cornwall with shopping and retail in mind, but you do still need to buy new clothes, and you do still need to buy fridges and stuff like that, don't you? It's just part of life.
Yeah.
So it is all down here, it's just on a smaller scale and there's less choice, but it's more than adequate. Living in Cornwall, you will need to get around. So the next topic of conversation, transport.
Right, okay.
Do you own your own car? We do. We find it essential in Cornwall to own our own car. Transport in Cornwall is very limited. We have one railway line, and that has 4 branch lines on it that go to resorts, so like Newquay or Falmouth or St Ives. They don't really help you as a person that's working to get anywhere.
The buses don't tend to be so reliable, do they?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know anything about the buses because we don't use them. Oh, I can't understand bus timetables. Because we've got a car.
Yeah, I mean, I've had to use buses occasionally to get to work, and if we had a problem with a car, it's in for a service, that type of thing. I've used buses, and they're not terribly reliable, and sometimes they're overcrowded. You know, especially if you're on with the school traffic. So sometimes you can be waiting an hour for a bus.
Yeah, so if you're trying to do Cornwall without a car, gosh, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to advise you, really. We have cars, and perhaps this sums it up for us. Our parents have bus passes. They are getting on into their 80s now, and they still run a car in preference to using public transport.
It's just more convenient for them, isn't it?
Yeah.
One thing we do need to talk about, Sarah, is that the infrastructure down here for like electric cars.
Yeah, it's getting better.
It's getting better, but it's way off, I think, what you've got up country.
Yeah, well, we don't really know, but there isn't much in the way of like charging points. If there is, there's probably like 2 or 3 in a car park. There
it
aren't
feels
many,
to me as
there?
if we're way behind the rest of the
Yeah,
country.
we usually lag by about a year to 18 months behind progress up country anyway, don't we? We always have done.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you've got an electric car, make sure you've got a charging point at home.
So I think what we're saying is if you are coming to Cornwall, I think it's 2025, I think
Yeah.
it's still important you've got your own transport.
Just chatting off camera, and Andrew's mentioned that the council's introduced a lot of 20-mile-an-hour zones in the villages, haven't they, in the towns? It takes so long to get anywhere these days.
Yeah, I might be wrong on this, but my understanding was they were trialling this in Wales and in Cornwall, and most of the villages now have gone from a 30 to a 20-mile-an-hour limit.
Yeah.
So basically it takes a bit longer to get around. And there's a massive difference in the winter to the summer. The summer,
Huge.
the county's really, really busy. You've always got to allow extra time for travelling. Lots of the car parks you get to as well are full.
Yeah.
So you might have to pick a car park a bit further out to walk in, maybe to a resort or a town centre.
So if you're not used to that peak and trough of tourism and the impact it makes on your life, that could be something you'd have to adapt to. For instance, our daughter's journey to work in the winter is 12 minutes. In the summer, it's 45 minutes. That's the difference it makes. And she's got to touch the A30, so that's why.
We're also a county without a motorway. The closest motorway is up in Exeter, so it's about 100 miles up the road,
Yeah,
isn't
but then there's parts of Wales that don't have motorways, so I don't think that's entirely unique.
Yeah,
you know?
and they've just upgraded our main road in Cornwall, the A30 road, and they've done a really good
Yeah,
job with that.
it's
and it's
excellent.
making it a lot easier to connect further up the line.
Yes, and get out of the county. More about that later. The other thing to think about in Cornwall is our narrow lanes, isn't it, Andrew?
Yeah, again, if you're not used to them, it can be probably quite scary the first time
Yeah.
you're driving along them, because they're quite narrow, and you've got very tall hedges. And it is fun, you know, if you're out driving, and you, especially if you're in a wider vehicle, and then you look at a driver coming towards you, and you see the whites of their eyes are really scared if they hit a tractor or a delivery lorry coming the other way.
Yeah. Makes me laugh actually, because our latest neighbours, the newest neighbours that we've got, came down with this great big Range Rover, and first off chatting, you know, getting to know each other, and I said to him, oh, you're going to be popular in Cornwall with that thing, aren't you? And he said, don't, it's my present, it was my pride and joy. And he kind of had to accept that, yeah, it was a bit big for our Cornish lanes, and they've bought themselves a second car now to get around. But yeah, it is something to think about. We've given you an idea about public transport and considered whether you need a car in Cornwall. That's more for your day-to-day needs. But what about when you want to leave Cornwall? For example, to go on holiday. There is a local airport, Newquay Airport, but destinations are few. Exeter is a little bit bigger, but the main airport we would use to go on holiday would probably be Bristol. That has a lot more destinations, although it is about 2.5 hours away from Truro. Just thinking about the question from Tractor Girl and retiring in Cornwall, you need to be aware of the healthcare provision. So we have one major acute hospital in Cornwall. It's here in Truro, the Royal Cornwall Hospital. At the moment we have a critical incident declared because of flu cases and bed capacity. It seems to always be in the news for something or other. There are local community hospitals, but obviously they don't deal with acute incidents. So depending on your healthcare needs, you might want to look into that. UK healthcare is funded per capita. Cornwall has a resident population of 570,000 people. In the summer months, this can expand 3 to 4 times that, and this does put significant strain on the healthcare system in Cornwall. Community hospitals do provide minor injury support to the A&E at the Royal Cornwall Hospital. So we've come away from the city now, and we've talked about the weather, we've talked about transport in Cornwall, and we've touched on healthcare. But I guess the biggest reason, the biggest draw that people want to retire to Cornwall for is probably this. So whatever you do at the coast, whether you're part of the RNLI, you enjoy surfing, you just walk your dog on the beach, our coastline in Cornwall is a huge draw, and it is stunning. You can see why. This is St Agnes. It's a village about 5 or 6 miles outside of Truro, traditionally somewhere where someone would retire to, which takes us back to our original question. 99% sure that Tractor Girl, she wants to retire here. But what happens when you've walked along the beach? What else is there to do after you've had enough of the beach?
So we're now looking at entertainment, aren't we?
I think that's the last thing on our list, isn't it? What else can you do other than walk this fantastic coastline?
For many, the sheer entertainment is the spectacle, isn't it? It's being able to come to somewhere like this and take it all in. And whether it's summer or winter, the scenes are amazing, isn't it? But if it's not your cup of tea and you're used to being entertained, what sort of things are we talking about? We're talking about things like the theatre, aren't we? We're talking about things like the cinema. What sort of things have we got in Cornwall? Well, when we were back in Truro, you've got the Hall for Cornwall. That's probably our biggest sort of venue where people will come down and entertain you, isn't it? We could get one or two of the celebs will come down. We get comics come down. We get things like tribute bands and things like that. And you'll find also somewhere like Eden in the summer, they'll put on Eden sessions and you have some of the bigger bands coming down for that. They also put things on in the winter as well. We've got a wonderful they've got an ice rink they do up there, isn't it? So there are things down here to entertain you, but they're fewer and far between than you're probably used to up country, I would have said.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Absolutely. We've got a cinema in every town, but we don't have a multiplex.
No, they're small little venues, aren't they?
Yeah.
But they're lovely. They're really sweet. I think they're a nice place to go and spend some time, especially during the winter as well, when you haven't perhaps got the weather. You know, you're looking at maybe something indoors.
What Andrew didn't mention there is the Minack Theatre. We have the Minack in Cornwall. Again, it is a summer activity, and if you've been here on your holidays, you've probably booked a ticket. Now that's something to think about. If you're local, you tend to forget it's there. I think when people book their holidays, they then think, I must book something at the Minack as well. So by the time we actually get around to thinking about it, and we think, oh, it's a nice day, should we pop down the Minack? It's all sold out. So maybe you get a bit complacent living down here. And we haven't been to the Minack for years.
Well, not to see a production, have we?
No.
And it's, as you said, it's quite hard to get tickets in it. But actually, whilst we're talking about that, most of these tourist event, places that you're going to come to, especially if you come on these summer holidays, most of them do schemes where it's cheaper to buy a local's pass, and then you've got access throughout the whole year, and that can be quite a good deal. A lot of these places, for no more than really the cost of just one entrance, you're getting a return ticket. Yeah,
probably for 12 months. I think that's Eden's deal, isn't it? So yeah, that's a good point. So you can go maybe when it's not going to be quite so busy. You might have realised that we've said this, referred to this a couple of times in this video. There is a staggering difference between winter and an empty beach and a car parking space, and summer where it is packed and crowded and the roads are so busy. So that is something you need to factor in.
Just finishing off on entertainment, I mean, you might be into your sports and things like that, and if you are retired, I don't know what Tractor Girl wants to do, but if you're retired, you've got a lot more leisure time, haven't you? So you might want to, I don't know, enjoy a game of tennis perhaps, or maybe golf, that type of thing. There's some nice facilities down here, golf courses. We've got some fantastic golf courses down here. You've got Perranporth, which is just along the coast. You've got Mullion. You've got even up at St Mellion, you've got the Jack Nicklaus course. There's some nice golfing in Cornwall. And I mean, obviously we've got the walking. And walking is free to do,
which is what our channel in the past has been all about, obviously.
But if you're looking at professional sport and watching professional sport, we've got no league professional team in Cornwall for football. Your closest place for that would be Plymouth, which is in Devon.
So that's an hour and 3/4 drive.
Yeah, we've got no professional sort of cricket team down here as such. If you want to watch top quality sport at a really high level, that's not going to be in Cornwall.
No, you're very true. Traditionally, rugby has had a higher profile in Cornwall than football, and Penzance is home to the Cornish Pirates. So the question asks, what's it like to live in Cornwall 52 weeks of the year? Well, we have plenty of experience of. The bit we can't really answer is what it's like to retire here. However, that is looming for us, and retiring here, we will definitely, if we can, stay here. And it's because we have a community, we have a network of friends, our families here, and we have support. So if something were to happen, we're okay. So if you're retiring here, that might be something you need to consider. How do you make friends in a new community? St Agnes would be quite good, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, St Agnes is traditionally one of those places where people have retired to.
Indeed.
I think, you know, from my experience, perhaps over the last 20 or 30 years, a lot of people have come to this area to retire here. But more and more of the places around the coast are being snapped up as investment, you know, investment homes, second homes, Airbnb and that type of thing. And it is starting to have an impact on that community thing, isn't it? I think if you are looking to retire, you've got to ask yourself, well, do I want to retire to somewhere that maybe in the next 10 or 20 years there won't be a community there anymore, because the properties are no longer being used for
on
people
a day-to-day basis
living there. Yes.
Yes, that might be something to really think about. Anywhere around the coast really is a target for that, isn't it? Because that's where people can make the money out of holiday homes.
Yeah, I think it would be important to me if I was retiring somewhere, I'd want to go somewhere where there is still a community.
Yeah, definitely.
And it would help you settle in as well, I would have thought.
Absolutely. And you've got such a big upheaval in your life, you probably need some support. It's been a bit bitty, this video, but it's an attempt to answer those questions from our experience and trying to relate it back to the actual question itself, wasn't it?
Yeah, I actually thought this video would be quite easy to make, because we're just talking about what's it like to live here all year. We live here. We live here all year round, and we don't really think about it, do you? But when you're actually put on the spot and you're told to think about it, you're trying to compare perhaps what it's like that's different to someone that's living somewhere completely different, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Andrew's kind of quite struggled with this at times, haven't you? So I've tried to do it in a logical order, whereas I think Andrew's has struggled a bit. So if it is a bit bitty, please forgive us.
I'm completely illogical. So so in a nutshell, what is it like to live in Cornwall 52 weeks of the year?
It's like living in two separate places at times. You've got the busy summer season that is chaos, and it is so difficult to do anything in your day-to-day life, it's untrue. And then you've got the season in winter where it's really windy, wet and cold, and you can't necessarily go out and enjoy it, even though it's quieter, because it is impossible with the weather sometimes. So that's how I see Cornwall. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I definitely would. I think the biggest thing for me would be it's not exactly what you see when you come on holiday, because the chances are you come on holiday and it's that better time of the year, the weather's nicer, and it's not all cream teas and
pasties
and being on the beach and things like that, pasties. There's more to living in Cornwall than just that, and I think you have to probably come in with an open mind.
We could go on all day probably chatting about reasons to come and reasons to not come. Oh, that's a good idea. What about 3 reasons to come to Cornwall?
3 reasons to come to Cornwall?
Yeah, like that.
Well, scenery would be one for me.
Yeah.
I think the history of Cornwall is such a rich and interesting history, and it's on your doorstep. You don't have to travel too far to see it.
The food, that's 3.
Oh, there we go. There we are.
3 reasons not to come to Cornwall. Potentially the isolation in winter.
Yeah, the sharing it with people, you know, that sounds horrible, doesn't it? But
the summer.
It's so busy in the summer, you end up having to hide a little bit in the summer, and that's not going to be for everybody, is it?
And
I think the third thing is
the lack of choice and disconnectedness from the rest of the country, I think, would be the third one.
Okay.
So there's 3 and 3 of each. Anyway, I think we've rambled on long enough. We're gonna sum it up now. Go and grab a pasty.
I'd love to know if anybody has actually retired here and what they've found of it, and maybe they put it in the comments, or even if they're thinking of doing it, you know, maybe there's something we haven't covered off which they might want to know about. It would be good to get other people's opinions as well. I mean, are we completely wrong as well? I don't know. We've tried to be as honest as we can in this video. If you've enjoyed it, leave a thumbs up. It does help with the YouTube algorithm. And
we're going to go and find a warm cup of coffee, because believe it or not, even though the sun is on our faces, it is so cold. It is so cold, as you can see from Angela. Hands in his pockets, and he's shivering. So until next time, we're going to say goodbye for now. Bye. If you've enjoyed our video, found the content useful, perhaps you'd be kind enough, if you're in a position to buy us a coffee. Otherwise, many thanks for watching.